a sudden, AEW announces the signing of Paul Wight, and everyone was going crazy because I think everyone assumed that you were a WWE lifer guy. Like that's where
Right.
people saw you. And talk a little bit about the process of what led you to leave WWE, what led you to choose AEW, and how that all came about.
Well, it wasn't an easy decision by no means, but the reason I left was basically just opportunity. I had, let's be honest, I've done everything that I could do in the WWE. I've turned heel face more times than NASCAR drivers turn left. Um, it was just one of those kind of things where I saw that WWE was doing different things, and the role that they wanted for me, which would have been a great role. It would have been an ambassador role. It would have been, golden parachute kind of a thing, and I could have wrote out my career there and finished it out, but I wasn't ready for that. I had some injuries in the past with a hip injury, and I wasn't, as an athlete, when you go through a serious injury and you fight to get back from that injury, you want to compete, and I was lucky enough to compete against Drew after WrestleMania, which was the first match I'd had in over a year. And then I got to do a little bit of an angle with Randy Orton, which I think was like 2 matches I'd had in like a year and a half, maybe. And I'm a guy that's used to wrestling 4 or 5 nights a week, year round. And to not be able and not be able to say goodbye to that yet. I think as a talent, you have to reach a place in your mind where you're willing to say goodbye to the fans and goodbye to the guys that you wrestle with and the gals that you tour with. You have to be able to say goodbye to them when you have peace in your heart. And I just didn't have that peace. I wanted to compete. I didn't care what I was doing. I just wanted to compete. And so for me, AEW, with Jericho being over there and Moxley being over there were guys that I knew, Cody Rhodes, and I saw what they were doing, and it was something I wanted to be a part of. Is it as big as WWE? Does it have that global impact that WWE has? Well, no. I mean, WWE has been a long time building its foundations and building the powerhouse company that it is, with its incredible production value and all the things that make WWE. AEW was attractive to me because it felt grittier. It felt like the roots and the bones of pro wrestling, and that's kind of what I want to be a part of in building something. In WWE, they have a system, and that system works for them. It's a very structured product. The ability for the talent to be authentic and really guide their own career and their own destiny is a little bit limited and protected because WWE has a product and what they like to see, and it works. And I'm not knocking it, but for me, the chance to really influence some younger talent, to get them to the nuts and bolts of what makes wrestling so wonderful and why there's a connection with the audience, and help them propel that connection to the audience is what I want to be a part of. And also to get in and compete. That was the one thing that Tony Khan and I talked about, because when I left WWE, I didn't know if I was going to get a job at AEW. I didn't know if I was going to get a job anywhere. I mean, I really didn't. I put my affairs in order and was prepared to stand on that hill and say, okay, if I can't compete the way I want to compete, then, maybe I am done. But having the opportunity to talk with Tony Khan, and the way we talked about psychology and just pro wrestling itself, not so much the production end of it or the entertainment end of it, but just actual pro wrestling, the nuts and bolts of it, I wanted to be a part of it. I want to make that grow. And I can't believe it. At this stage of my career, I'm very blessed to have that opportunity to still compete in front of the fans. And one of my big goals with Tony Khan is I want AEW to do like a tour in the UK, like we used to do. I want to have a show in O2 Arena. I want to hear O2 Arena in London just go absolutely nuts, whether they're calling me, either they say, you still got it, or they call me, you fat, whichever one. That magic, I think our young men and women at AEW need to experience that and feel that kind of power, because that's lifelong memories that you take with you forever when you get that kind of experience.
I do have to ask you, because the last couple of times we saw you in WWE was you and Christian and the other legends kind of getting revenge on Randy Orton, and then the Raw Legends night at the beginning of this year. And I think a lot of people online were thinking how they used you in that Raw Legends night was maybe like a catalyst of you going, I'm going to go. Did that have anything to do with your decision?
I think it was, personally, it was frustrating. That was one of the big battles that I had with Vince. I mean, he's an innovator. He's brilliant. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. He understands the human dynamic. I didn't want to be in that Legends role. I mean, I kept teasing. I said, hey, quit trying to put me in Hines. I'm not ready to be in the retirement home. Like, quit shoving me there, and that's something that WWE has always done too. They will, use every tool available to promote something that they're promoting. I mean, everything is on the table with them. And I understand that role was setting up what it was setting up, but it was a little bit of a humbling experience to sit on the stage and get berated for the work that you've done. But that's part of what you sign a contract for. You sign a contract and you get paid to check your ego at the door. And if you don't want to check your ego anymore, then you can leave. I mean, that's one of the things I've always done everything in WWE that I was ever asked to, because, I signed a check. This is a job. It's a fun job. It's a great job, but it's a job. It's your boss. Sometimes your boss is going to make you do things that you don't like. Like people would say, ask me all the time, the guys are like, I'd have to catch these small, tiny commuter planes where I was like, I was wearing the airplane. They're like, God, how do you do it? I'm like, well, I got a choice. I can either do it or I can stay home and not go to work. You make those sacrifices to be a part of something that you love doing. The creative process, with as many different creative directions that were going on, I can look through their eyes and I can understand what they're saying. I mean, for the past year, I was called Paul. I wasn't called Show anyway. You know what I mean? Because in the creative's mind, it's like, well, we've done everything we can do with him. It's time to focus on younger talent. And I agree that younger talent should be focused on. I don't think you have to disregard someone that still has ability and desire and a love for the industry to basically toss them aside. But that's business. That's the way things are done. So again, that's why I'm grateful to have the opportunity I have to be in AEW and be a part of it. There's so many things I've done creatively that were just like, what the HE double hockey sticks am I doing? This is just, one of the biggest things used to drive me nuts is I used to always have to tell everybody how big I was on my promos. I always hated my promos. They sucked because it's like, I'm 7 foot tall. I'm 500 pounds. It's like, yeah, no, but it's a smaller guy writing for a bigger guy. Bigger guys know how big we are. You don't have to run around and tell everybody. It was a different philosophy. Their philosophy was, well, if you're the champion, you tell everybody you're the champion. If you're a giant, you tell everybody you're a giant. I get it, but there was a lot of my personality and wit and humor that's who I am that I don't think I ever really got to get out in a lot of that stuff. And I think now is a good opportunity with AEW to let more Paul come out and have some fun with it.
Anytime I'm around the product, in person, that little guy creeps up on my shoulder and tells me, hey man, what are you doing? Why are you not getting ready to go to work? It's something I'm sure will dissipate in time, but I'm still dealing with it, and it gets better all the time. But I think it'll always probably be there. I don't think I've ever been professionally. I've never been as passionate as I was with my wrestling career, and I don't think that ever goes away.